Kiesza in studio. Thank you for coming today.
You're welcome. I got like stuck. I decided to take the subway because I love subways because I lived in New York, and I got stuck in the subway station. I literally got lost in the station. Which is
well, I'm happy you made it here. I like ran to the street. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I know. I was like, how do I get there?
Well, listen, we all know Hideaway in 2014 was huge, like over 1 billion streams.
Yeah.
Won you a Juno, and then you topped the charts globally and sold over 1 million units with your debut album, Sound of a Woman.
Yes.
Yeah. And actually, I had a friend write me today, and she's like, I'm so excited Kiesza's coming in because when Hideaway came out, apparently it was during World Pride, and it was almost like the theme song of World Pride, and she was there, and she said to me, she said, Sandra, whenever I'm kind of like feeling low during the week, I put that song on and it brings me back to a time.
That makes me so happy.
Well, it makes her happy, so she wanted me to share that with you today.
Wow.
So,
I
Kiesza,
love hearing stories like that.
thank you for coming in today, and also thank you for being part of our ZVIP party on Sunday.
That was so fun.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see you perform because unfortunately that was like the first time I've seen you perform, and I'm always fascinated when someone can dance like you do and also sing and not go off key at the same time. I'm like, how does this happen? Like, I have a walking pad underneath his desk here, and when I walk on it and talk on the radio, I'm like completely breathless. Meanwhile, there you are doing all these crazy dance moves and like singing perfectly.
Well, it's practice. As Michael Jackson once said, practice, practice, practice. It's just people don't like to practice anymore because we're like lazy and always on our phones and like don't want to get up. And I even get like moments in my life where I'm like, oh man, I just would rather stay in my bed and like, but no, you gotta kick yourself. And singing like that while dancing, you have to literally like, I skip while I sing.
Like with a jump rope?
Yeah, it's like the hardest thing because you're constantly bouncing. So if I can sing on pitch with a jump rope, then I know I'm good while I'm dancing. So
can we also just talk about the fact that you can skip? I don't know the last time I tried to skip rope, but I'm like probably terrible at it now.
Can we also talk about the fact that skipping is one of the hardest exercises ever? Like 1 minute and I'm dead.
But this is how we know we have to like work on our vocal performance. So you actually, this is how you work on your vocal stamina.
Yeah.
Bonkers. I love this. Now, you're originally from Calgary, correct?
Yes.
Calgary, not Calgary, as some people say. I mean,
just like Toronto.
Right. It's not Toronto. So did I read this right, that you actually followed your brother into the Royal Canadian Navy?
Yeah. I was his competitive little sister, which really annoyed him, I think, a lot throughout his life. Because I would also like steal his CDs. His CD collection, and that's how I learned about new music. Yeah, that's how I got into like Jay-Z and Linkin Park's EP.
Okay, so how do you go from like the Royal Canadian Navy, like following your brother to that, to like where we are today?
You know, it's really funny because we'd be polishing our boots and polishing our weapons, and we spent hours doing all this stuff, and we would sing, and I would be singing along with them, and I would always get told that I have a good voice and I should sing, and I've been singing my whole life in theater and all this stuff. I never thought about it as my career because my parents were like, go do a job that's going to make you money. And honestly, music nowadays it's tougher than...
Yeah.
It's easier and tougher in many ways because it's harder to make income from streaming and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm like, I don't know if I advise it.
But I'm going to do this anyway.
I always say, like, anyone who decides to go into music is partially clinically insane, but also really cool because, you know, you're like brave enough to go for it. But I would be singing and people would just be like, you should do that. And I was like, oh, okay, how?
Meanwhile, you're polishing the boots in the Navy.
Literally, this is real. And I was a sailor too, so when I was on the ship, I'd sing a lot, and people kept asking for the music that I would kind of write on my little guitar. So I made a demo CD once, and that ended up getting sent to a music school in Nelson, and I got accepted without even entering, and then I ended up doing that, and then I got a scholarship to Berklee College of Music. So at that point, I was like, okay, people are telling me that music is like working, and the school is now giving me a scholarship, so maybe I'll just give it a shot. And I did, and then it worked out.
Well, Kiesza, people always say that when you see these signs coming your way, whether it's from the universe or from whoever you believe in or whatever you believe in, like there's these signs that kind of push you, and they were very clear for you that music was the way.
Like life always puts me back on track with music. Because I'm a kind of person who I'm so endlessly curious that I keep trying other things. Like I just started stand-up comedy recently. And,
amazing.
I got off tour and I was like, I didn't want my tour to end. So what can I do? I want to get back on stage. And my friend was like, I'm doing a stand-up comedy show. And I was like, can you book me? And they're like, do you have a set? And I was like, I will. I'll probably write a set in I wrote a set in one day, and it was just jumped on stage, and I was like, I gotta just jump in the fire, and I did it. It went good, and so I actually this week jumped on stage in Toronto, and that went pretty good. And some other comics have asked me to go on their show. So
That's
I think
wild.
Yeah, when I'm back in December, I'm gonna do 2 or 3 sets. So I'll let you know. We can.
Please. I think this is so fascinating because, number one, to get up and perform and sing songs that you're familiar with, that's one thing. But I feel like comedy is a whole other realm that, people spend so much time, kind of finessing. And you're like, I'm just going to try it. And then, you nail it. That's awesome.
Well, I didn't nail it, but I did, a lot better than I thought I would. And
did they boo you?
No,
you did great.
They laughed. They laughed pretty hard. But you always want them to laugh harder, right? You're
that's not loud
satisfied
enough.
As an artist.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit, if you're okay with it, about your accident. Because some people may not know that Kiesza was in a pretty intense, life-changing accident. You were in a cab.
Literally life-changing.
What?
I was in an Uber in the back seat, and a cab, a Toronto orange taxi, ran a red light and just T-boned us. Really, they didn't stop, so we got hit pretty hard. And then I sustained a brain injury that was it got progressively worse for a long time before it started getting better. So,
and this was in 2017. So this has been this has obviously impacted your career, your musical kind of, as you're on your way up in the music career.
Oh yeah,
and performing.
It pulled the rug out of my whole career. I couldn't perform. But music is everything that's bad for the brain. Even with a healthy brain, the music industry is bad for your brain. It's like strobe lights and loud music and crowds and not sleeping and everything that is not healthy, really, in so many ways for the body. So you really have to keep your health on track. But with a brain injury, I couldn't be around any of that. And it took me out for years. So I'm literally just 7 years in from my recovery, now returning to dance music I couldn't do it because I literally couldn't be in the rooms. So, but you know what? It's the silver linings are the amount of growth that I went through in this process. And how strong it made me as a person and resilient and also really reconnect with myself in a loving way, and accepting myself even when I'm not at my best. That was hard.
I bet.
When we're injured or sort of weak in any way, we tend to self-sabotage and attack ourselves, and I went through that process.
Well, we're not supposed to be weak, right? We're not supposed to be.
No, but you really find strength in your weakness in ways that I never have before, and I decided to just accept myself as an injured person and just focus on healing. I think this kind of leads into one of our questions we have on our text line to 416-798-1035 for Kiesza. My question to Kiesza is, since she went through so much and is such an inspiration and truly amazing, how does she find strength and inspiration to do it all? Oh, that's such a good question. I really struggled to find happiness through this process for a long time, and I couldn't plan my future. I think we get so attached to our expectations of the future, and then when we can't do that, we sort of get let down. But since I couldn't plan my future, I just focused on how I wanted to feel instead. So I just decided I want to do things that make me feel really good, whether it's simple, like going for a walk or hanging out with really cool people, or actually working on an art project. I don't know, I just follow my passion, and I really focus on feeling good within myself. And when you can sort of muster that feeling within yourself, it kind of drives you towards things that also feel that way. And without trying, you just end up doing all these things.
All the things that align with your soul and make you feel better.
Exactly.
Which is beautiful. Now, let's talk a little bit about the new album, Dancing and Crying, Volume 1.
Probably a good idea to talk about music.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. I feel like this all kind of leads in together because Dancing and Crying, what is this all about? Where'd the title come from?
Well, literally that, dancing and crying. Crying through this process of losing my ability to dance and then finding it again. And the resilience it took to get there. I was diagnosed with a condition called suicide headaches, which are the most high pain. They're one of the most painful conditions on the planet.
Whoa.
So through that, I've had to try to come back to this career that I love, and my passion has been something that actually hurts a lot of the time. So I have literally bursted into tears so many times while I'm dancing, or just tried to dance and not been able to, and burst and bawled my eyes out, or just I was envisioning a music video the other day, and I just closed my eyes sort of and was dancing in the room and dancing free, and I realized that my body was allowing me to do it. It wasn't like I wasn't getting my neck wasn't hurting that moment, and my head was feeling good, and I started crying of happiness, like
dancing and crying.
Yeah, all the tears I've really experienced, and I love dancing. That's one of my favorite things to do ever. Like, I just always want to dance. So if I'm in my room, I want to dance. If I'm out with a friend, I want to dance. And I realize that dancing and crying also are not so different in some ways, because they're a very honest expression of the body. When you really just are having a good dance, it's just as healing as a good cry.
It's almost like your vulnerability is out there, right? When you're crying or when you're dancing, because you don't care.
And crying is a very authentic expression, and so is dancing. So they're very healing in a similar way. And I learned that through this process. And I was like, wow, you can actually... They're not so different. So
in studio with me right now is Kiesza, and I have some texts coming in, just people really relating with you, because there are people in their families who are struggling with TBI 3 years in and all of this. So they're just like really sending some love your way regarding that. Now, back to the album and music in general, Dancing and Crying, Volume 1, out now, which is awesome. You've worked with like Duran Duran, Diplo, Skrillex, Pitbull, Deadmau5, like the list goes on and on. Is there anybody that you are currently collabing with that we can know about? Or is it like, shh, don't tell anybody?
Well, I love finding new up-and-coming people, and there's an artist that hasn't even launched their project yet, but they as a producer have been really coming up on the back end of things, and they're going to be launching a project, and their name is Jess Cake, Jess, and then Cake. So there's probably like only a few hundred followers on their Instagram, but I think that this producer and artist is so talented and so phenomenal. So they're going to be working on some tracks coming up, and I actually have their name written in a song that's going to be coming out in the future release. So because I was that excited about them, I was like, I want to put your name in a song to help bring attention to you.
Right. Okay. So you're listening. Who are you listening to right now?
Who am I listening to? You know what? I'm trying to get... I've been going through a very ambient phase recently, and I really got into like Vancouver Sleep Clinic recently. I don't know if you know them. I'm reconnecting with a lot of the sort of retro and folk, because I'm doing a lot of folk and dance music together.
You mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm reconnecting with a lot of my roots, like Cat Stevens and Bob Dylan, and like really trying to dive into the lyrical process.
Awesome.
And also I want to say more, even though it's dance music. Everyone's like, don't say very much. Nobody wants to listen to things while they dance.
I do.
I do. I kind of want to, like, at this point in history where we're at, I think I do want to dance while I think about, my existential crisis.
I love it.
Just to get me through this existential crisis. So I don't know. I'm just trying to find different ways to bring the deeper lyrics into music. I'd have to like pull up on my Spotify.
That's okay.
Christina and the Queens. I've always been a fan of, but I've been re-listening to her a lot again. And there's this artist that I just love who's coming up in France called Lucky Love, who I just love them as a being so much. And they're kind of like new on the scene and just came out of nowhere. And I met them, and I just think they're phenomenal as well.
Awesome. We're going to have to get going soon because the way back lunch is on the way. But I have some questions before you go. Kind of like quick ones for you. What's your favorite thing to eat?
I love Ethiopian food.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Yes, it's so good.
So
it's
good.
Like kind
and the bread?
Yeah.
Like the kind of like flatbread?
Injera.
That's what it's called. It's so good.
I know too much about it.
Oh, I need to know more about it. Listen, we should go after this.
Yeah. Oh, yes. We should go.
What would you say your top ick is?
Oh man, that's a tough one.
Okay.
Things that smell. Smell gets me really bad.
Like blue cheese would get you?
Not totally. It used to. I'm just trying to think. I mean, when I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
When somebody, doesn't close the bathroom door when they should. That really gets me.
The wafting of it.
I shouldn't get into those conversations.
And what is your top irrational fear?
Irrational fear, chainsaws. Well, that's not irrational, but even in the presence of a chainsaw, because I got chased by a chainsaw through a haunted house when I was a kid, and it scarred
you for life.
I have this. I go black. I blank out. If you pull out a chainsaw and turn it on, I don't even know what happened. I'll just be in another room, and I don't know how I got there. Like I'm gone.
Amazing. Well, Kiesza, your new album, Dancing and Crying Volume 1, is out now. You've been touring the U.S. When are you coming back here? When can we see you on stage?
We're going to be doing a East tour at some point, probably in the early fall, spring, probably in the new year. But I will be back in December, and I will jump out on some comedy sets, and maybe I'll throw some music into it. So I'll let you know. We can, but yeah, the next tour is going to be probably in the new year.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, I am so grateful for you coming in here. We're going to play I Go Dance coming up. We're going to take a quick break from our commercials and play those, and we're going to get to your latest song, I Go Dance, which was top of the charts, like all song on the dance charts. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.